So today, our first question is to you is about, okay, when the pandemic is accelerating the future, what is your understanding of when we talk about that for a while, the future is now and the future of work is here?
For me, it relates to two parts that I've already been involved in my past. I think 4.5, maybe 5 years ago already, at the Smart City Expo World Congress in Barcelona. I was part of the team that was launching a new idea for smart cities, which was the Intelligent Operations Center, which is a solution that provides something that you can compare as the brain and the nervous system of a smart city. And in my presentation, I was giving examples of how and in what way this brain and nervous system could function if we would consider it as the brain and a nervous system for daily operations and be more efficient in city management for city managers. And I was using examples that are not out of the idea phase, because usually when you're launching a new idea, you're bringing to market maybe something that you would like to be. But I was highlighting examples and reference cases that already were up and running for 2, 3, some even more than 4 or 5 years. And I related it to a movie that I grew up with when I was younger, which is Back to the Future. So I asked the audience, do you think that this sounds like going back to the future? And many of them were saying, yeah, this is all state of the art and it's new. It's not live yet. It's not up and running. And I said, well, actually, this is already up and running for a couple of years. So this is no new at all. The future is now. And I think that's very applicable to where we are today. I think the future is now. I think the moment we are in whatever idea moving forward and trying to make that idea come through, that is an example where the future becomes reality and the future is now. Another example, of course, sits with the future of work. So where is the future of work going? Is work changing? I think the pandemic has shown and still shows that the way we work, and I mean the way we interact and collaborate and the way we share information across teams and departments, there is still information being shared across teams and departments. But the way it's been done, it's more digital, more online. I think your She Hero Goes Digital is a good example of how this process has changed and how this baseline has transformed a little. So where is the future of work? I think the future of work is where the way we learn to work at home now, and the moment the office opens up, maybe next week, it depends on the country you're in, but more and more of the restrictions are being relieved. So more and more offices are opening up. That means we're not working from home so much anymore. But I think we will take a lot of the learning points and the way we work at home back to the office. And I think that's a completely game changer, because if you look at the office in the past, it was a desk. Maybe you share it with 2 or 3 people. Maybe there's an open office space. Maybe only the knowledge workers work from home or work from remote locations. But you as a desk worker or as a reception worker or someone in administration or an help desk, your office is pretty clear. And if you want to meet somebody, you stand up and you go to the desk of someone else. I think this will change tremendously. I think what we do at home or when we work from home is we see if someone is online. We can see a presence icon. We can send a message, maybe say, do you have 5 minutes? I got a specific question, and you're typing a lot. And maybe someone says, maybe we should call because typing is not so convenient. So you call and then they activate video, or they go to a Zoom or another form of online meeting. And that's what you do when you work from home. And it's very efficient. I think this will be a new scenario in the existing office where you are behind your desk, but you're not going to the desk of your colleague. You're going to send him or her a message. If they are available, if they can answer the question, and if they are, maybe you want to call someone. So you call from your desk, your colleague, maybe in the same office or maybe in the other side of the office. That's where I think the future of work will slowly roll into. And I think that's very important to recognize, because that makes the pressure and maybe the distance that we feel from a social point of view. People need to be connected also physically. And now in the office, you always were connected physically. And in the new way of work, maybe that's not the case anymore. So we're bringing anxiety perhaps also to the office. We have to be keen on that too.
2020 is a very, special year, and everybody is aware of that, how, the pandemic affected our life and also our work, the way our work. So I understand when you talk about time, you have a theory, whether by Einstein is about relative, time is a relative, And then by Edwin Diender is about relevant. So is this something, I think everybody who join us, I understand some of our community members could not be able to join us today and we'll do the replay. But in the same time, I think we are looking forward to your explanation today when you're online. What that means in terms of dealing with the crisis, in terms of, I mean, could be some miracle and for solving the problems today with uncertainty. So what is about time is irrelevant.
Yes, that's correct. A few years ago, I wrote an article. It was published and it's called Time is Relative, which is of course my Mr. Einstein, versus Time is Relevant, which is something that indeed I came up with for this article. I don't claim it's a theory. I don't even claim it's a thought. I thought it was a good title actually. And maybe today we can say time is irrelevant, but who knows? But at that time, I thought it was very important. And I think it also relates a little bit to today. The theory of relativeness and time is relative by Einstein is based on an essay or a letter actually that he wrote to someone, and then later it got into an academic and a scientific track. But in this letter, he refers to a situation where he compares sitting on a hot stove for 1 minute might feel like an hour. But if you're spending time with the one you love, then 1 hour feels like 1 minute. And that makes it relative, right? It depends on the situation or it depends on the scenario. And I think also today with COVID-19 and again with working from home or the new way of work, this is relative, but it's also relevant to understand, because in my point of view, so where I come from, and the reason why I wrote this article at that time is because I joined a department for public and government, for government and public sector in Huawei Technologies that I'm still part of. And we were looking at different ways on how to support different scenarios in different industries, including the government industry. And one of the solutions that we had was a platform that was the brain and the nervous system of a smart city that I just mentioned. And what does that do? That's doing a lot of things. What is the foundation, or what is the cornerstone of such foundation? That would be safe city. If an area is not safe, or if an area is not secure, then people probably don't want to live in that region. They want to move out. They want to go to an area that is safer and secure. So in safe city to smart city transformation and in digital transformation, it probably makes sense to follow a few steps, and the one leads into the other. And safe city at that time was, and still is, by the way, a solution that we have for public services. And one of the things that I thought at that time is, where does that fit the best? And it fits the best with critical incidents. Because normally speaking, you don't want to be so much aware of a safe and secure environment. You take it for granted. Of course, I can walk down the street. And it doesn't matter if there is not much light. I should feel safe and secure no matter what. And there are mechanisms around me that arrange that for me, so that give me that feeling. But when there is a critical incident, or like now with COVID-19 or pandemic, maybe that is not so eminent, and it makes it also relative again. If you're the one who sits behind the emergency control center and you're the police officer that picks up the phone of someone who is in distress, who just had a major accident, or who witnessed maybe someone having a heart attack, or worse, or even bad like now with the pandemic and everything else and the riots in America, for example. If you look at when people are calling the National Emergency Response Number, if you're the guy on the phone, or the person on the phone, I should say, because this call is also about diversity, of course. If you're the person on the phone, you're trying your utmost best to deal with this situation to the best of your ability and as fast as you can, because you understand that this is a sense of urgency. But if you're the person on the other side of the phone, if you're the person who is calling, if you're the one who was part of a traffic accident and the driver next to you is in a terrible situation and you are the one calling the National Emergency Response Number, then you think that the person on the phone is delaying and is taking too much time to do something, because they are asking you questions. Who are you? Where are you? Where are you exactly? What happened? Can you give me a scenario of the situation that you're in? Which is all kinds of information that you do not want to answer. You want to ask a question. I'm in the park. I just had a terrible accident. My friend, I think, is dying. I need an ambulance. And that's the conversation you want to have. So it depends a bit on what side of the equation you are. So relative, time is relative, sits with E is MC square. But in critical communication, in emergency communication, I would say that the E is MC square, making it relevant, is when it comes to efficiency. So the E is then efficiency. Efficiency is the minutes that it takes times the critical communications, the two C's, that goes along to deal with the situation at hand. So E is MC square, is efficiency is the number of minutes times the critical communication. And critical communication is the way you speak to the person on the other side of the line. If you're a police officer taking the call, or if you're the victim or the injured person, or calling on behalf of an injured person on the other side of the call. And that makes it, that doesn't make time relative at all anymore. That makes time highly relevant, I'd say, because the shorter the time, the more lives we can save, and that makes it relevant.
Talking about technology, talking about Huawei, everybody is curious or is really actually fascinated about the achievements of what you did and so far. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to understand a little bit more about your role with Huawei and also Huawei's role leading, the innovation and digital transformation globally. But could I, quote something I read about you? So
yes,
you said people. So when people talk about yourself, you always you're asked to give solutions, and then you're always asked to offer some ideas or thoughts and solutions at a crossroad. And you talk about your technology will help us better, but we already done best. That is really something today we want to discuss more about. What do you mean by, and people ask you when they really need help, and how do you help them?
I joined the Huawei Enterprise Business Group at the end of 2011. And the Huawei Enterprise Business Group at that time was just formalized. Did not exist before. Had no market, no footprint, had no solutions, nothing, because it did not exist. Before that, all our enterprise business, which means everything that we do towards customers that are in specific industries, like healthcare or like education or like government services or like transportation or banking or care services, all these customers were not addressed via a team that was established in a business unit. So I joined at the end of 2011 to help set up industry solution sales practices for the West European region, because I'm from the Netherlands. I was born in the Netherlands. And at that time, the head office of the West European team was in Amsterdam. So I didn't have to travel that much. I could just, I could take a train or a car, very easy. Within an hour, I was in the office. And as I said, I joined to help set up industry solution sales practices, which were and which still are solution sales practices to address items in specific industries where technology can help our customers do better what they already do best. For example, solutions that maybe we are using right now, actually. A desktop solution that understands who of your peers and who of your customers are online or offline for daily communication and information sharing easily across teams and departments without necessarily having to meet first or having to be in the same room first. So this video chat that you and I are having, and the possibility to also send messages, because somewhere in the screen I can see an icon that says if I want to send a message maybe to some of the other participants, then I would be able to do that. And that is an instant message. So chat and instant message. Presence management, I can see if they're online or away. I can share video and file. Is an example of collaboration and a better form of collaboration. So working together better. And here is an example then where technology allows our daily communication to be done better and to help us do what we already do best, because I think we communicate quite well already. In 2013, I became spokesperson to international media and global analyst organizations on Huawei's strategy and forward-looking statements and thinkings. And I became part of a team that was appointed, for example, when someone needed to explain or provide a specific idea to a large audience in a room, which is maybe an event or a summit organized by different industry organizations or different non-profit organizations, the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, industry events where they like to have speakers with certain ideas or representing organizations with specific technology. that are forward-looking and very straightforward, but also very innovative. And that's where Huawei, of course, sits. The success of us as an organization is predominantly driven by our tremendous investment in innovation. We are one of the few companies worldwide who take more than 10%. In fact, we actually take 15 and sometimes even more than 15% of our annual revenue out of our pockets, and we put it directly back into innovation, where other organizations do the same, but at a lesser percentage. 6, 7, maybe 8, if it's really going very well, is a common percentage to reinvest in innovation. But Huawei doubles that from the start that Huawei Enterprise at the end of 2011 has been formalized. And that's a key success. And it pays back, because what we do with those investments is not just give it to geeks to sit in rooms and develop, the greatest and latest technologies that maybe no one will ever use now. But once it becomes eminent after 10 or 20 years, it becomes out. But really what we do is we link it to scholars, to bright brains that are currently in university at the verge of educating and at the verge of graduating, for example. And we link it to business drivers. So we'll try to find customers and partners and integrators to work together in developing teams, how we call them, where ideas are being shared. And the outcome of those idea sharing sessions is an investment in solutions. And that creates uplift in scenarios that we try to see if we can carry that by what we call the latest version or the latest generation of mobile networks, which is 5G, the 5th generation of mobile infrastructures that is already so strong and so capable of, even today, linking all the people worldwide with a digital layer of intelligent connectivity that is so highly needed today for so many reasons. That is a core example of where an investment in innovation leads to. And within this intelligent layer of mobile connectivity that already links us worldwide, I can tell you that I am not connected via a cable in this session with you. The only cable I have is the one in my ear with this microphone that goes to the tablet that I'm speaking to, but I am not connected via cables anywhere. I am wirelessly connected to my home Wi-Fi, and my home Wi-Fi is connected with, yes, a 5G SIM card to the mobile network. So my home Wi-Fi does not have a cable to the cable internet, so to speak. So it's already very mobile, if you like, and it's already very shared. And it also supports artificial intelligence and cloud enablement. And I'm not going to go too technical in this particular session, but these are all mechanisms to make these connectivities, to make these connections. So my personal connection with you today, which is a wireless connection, but also a personal connection, and personal also does not have a wire, of course, is connected via an intelligent layer of connectivity that understands how to optimize my connection to have this session with you. But on your side, there is a lot of technology between me and you that also allows on your side and everyone else who is now participating and listening to be connected in the most optimized way, that the screen is not shuddering, that the screen is not flickering, that the voice comes through as best as it can. Are examples of where those investments are leading to. But the basic question that you asked is if I can explain what it is that I do. I try to explain technology in the simplest way possible. That's usually what I try to do. And that's, of course, not very easy because technology has a lot of complexity inside and a lot of abbreviations and a lot of different meanings. And it is highly complex. But part of my job is to basically explain technology in a simple way and then try to see if we can help our customers do better what they already do best with pieces of technology that they already have, combined with pieces of technology that maybe we're able to add or to put on top of it or to overlay.
When we're talking about technology at the same time, we may want to, talk about digital. What is the digital? And I understand one of your company's mission, or maybe you can, in a better or proper way to share, is helping every single person or home or organization to close the gap. I think one of the example we would love you to share more about the cities for future. You can share a little bit more later, but before that, what is the mission for making the gap being more digital, and then whether you're helping us also to go in digital, but you're helping young people. So what that is the noble mission of the company. I think that is really, really impressive.
The mission of the company is to bring digital to every person, home, and organization. And part of my job is not only to explain technology in a simple manner to everyone and help our customers make use of that. Part of my job is also to help support our partners and our customers with their digital journey, in trying to create some thought leadership, in trying to provide some knowledge sharing, but also give direction, ideas from the other side of the world, and then try to capture that into a program that we can jointly agree on and that we can jointly embark on, because digital transformation is a journey. It's not a combination of different projects together, because each project has a beginning and an ending, and that's not a journey. That's like a stopover. A journey really is smooth and transitional. And bringing digital to every person, home, and organization has so much within it. Technically speaking, this is a huge challenge. But from a societal point of view, from a people point of view, this is also a huge challenge. Not everyone yet today is even able to be connected, because digital infrastructures do not always reach places where it needs to be. And I think this is where Huawei is, where I'm very proud of to be working for an organization that actually takes that as a starting point to bring digital to every person, home, and organization. So we don't look where digital already is. We try to see where digital is not, and where digital needs to be, and where digital has to be. Because part of digital is very neutral. And the core element of having a neutral set of technology means that it speaks every language that it has to speak or that it can speak. It has no bias. It also talks to everybody without bias. It doesn't discriminate, so to speak, because it's there. So if this is a child, for example, who is living in a family that is in a community of 10 or 20,000 people, and there are many of these communities worldwide that are physically disconnected. There's many examples worldwide in different countries, and this is not just what so unpolitely some people sometimes say, the undeveloped countries. I mean, what kind of country is it? Every country is developed. Of course it is. It has people living and working there. So how can you say it's not developed? But there is a budget from the government that says, let's make a highway so the school bus can drive to all the communities. But at some point in time, the budget was overran, or it closed up, or something else happened and the budget was gone. And here is this road that stops, like in the middle of nowhere. So the school bus cannot go further. And then you have to walk through harsh environments, maybe 5 kilometers or 8 kilometers, and then you reach a community where there's 10, 15, maybe 20,000 people living. And here is a child who then needs to go to school. What digital really can do, what mobile broadband intelligent connectivity can do, and already does, it reaches these communities with a mobile signal. And that mobile signal is being used in these communities for daily communication. What it most of the time is not being used for is to also use that mobile network with intelligent connectivity to link the child to an online learning program and digitally connect to school and to teachers and to curriculum and to learning points and to studying. That's not already done everywhere in the world. Mobile networks are everywhere, but using that mobile network for that is not necessarily the case all the time, because it's too far away. The investment for the Ministry of Education, for example, is focused on the 80% capacity that they can cover for the whole nation, but the other 20% is always out of the eye, so to speak. It's off of the radar or off of the table. So this is an example where as I said, I'm very proud to work for an organization that specifically looks at that part and tries to put that in place first, and then rolls back to what is already there and link and integrate that. And the same in that analogy then goes perhaps not for the child in that community, but maybe the grandfather of that child in the same community or in another community that perhaps needs medical attention, or that just needs renewal of a medical subscription and the delivery of medication, for example. And via these mobile networks, it is not very difficult to put a drone up in the air with a little grip that holds the package with the medical supplies, and the drone flies over harsh environments and then drops it exactly where it needs to be dropped. So elderly people do not also need to walk 5 kilometers back to where the highway stopped and then not catch the school bus, but a regular bus or a taxi, or the son from another village can pick them up and then drive to a hospital or a pharmacy to physically get medication. And the same goes for financing, of course. You can use this also for investments, for banking, for financial services, on top of healthcare services, insurances, and maybe even school tuition fees. And if we then think a little further and we follow the idea of Estonia, which has a complete digital version of their country, their nation. Estonia is a physical country in the Baltics, but they also have a digital twin of everything that their country is about, including an identity. And this, I think, becomes even more crucial when we talk about Tech for All, when we talk about digital inclusion, social inclusion, and urban development. If we're able to use the mobile broadband infrastructure in such a way that we can give people an identity, then with that identity, they can have access to more services today than they didn't have yesterday. Because, for example, if you want to open a bank account, you have to physically go to the bank. Or if you go online, so you go to a web portal, you go to www.mybank.com, but if you want to register, you can do it. But if you want to open up a bank account, you need to have a residency. You need to have an identity. And if you're physically unable to go to City Hall to get your passport or your ID card, then you don't have an identity. And that means you cannot open a bank account. But it also means you cannot vote. It also means you cannot get an insurance for health. It means you're excluded from so many services. So I'm going a bit around different ideas where the principle of digital and the aspect of a digital journey and digital transformation comes in, and where I'm, again, very proud to work for an organization that has exactly that at the beginning of their thinking before they move solutions to any markets.
So one of the things, and also I want to address a little bit about today, the power of humanity and also technology. I always believe, technology, we talk about, how advanced it is, but we still talk a lot, especially these days for the past few months, when the pandemic is affecting so many people. I mean, how they work, as I said, how they really rethink about the purpose of the company. And then we also see great leadership has been demonstrated. And we talk a lot about today, actually, rather than just the short-term financial, pressures or short-term operational, challenges, but also talk about the purposes. We talk about humanity, we talk about empathy, and also, in this regards, I want to know more about the storytelling about leader, because storytelling is very powerful, and when you talk about great leader or talk about great company. So what it is those are the things that made you here today. Whether you can choose to talk about it's about your education, it's about your passion, whether it's because of your passion, for example, and recruit, mentoring and coaching those young talents in your Huawei, enterprise or community or company, and also helping those seeds for future. I think that's very, very remarkable. But and then can be also your choices, working globally, or where you're from. So those are the things that we talk about a lot these days, also as a legacy. So what does it mean by, legacy to you? Is it about money? Is it about power or position? And so on and so forth. What is the great leaders, demonstration? And, those are the things. We'd love to hear your story.
Well, as you probably can see, I'm a little older. I'm not, I'm a little past middle age, but people would say. I'm not a teen, certainly, anymore. So I got a long story. And within that long story are also many different stories, because there's so many things that I was part of in my life and in my journey, actually. But a few things are coming back. A few things are always at the forefront of my thinking. My grandfather always used to say that you need to apply friction before something can shine. And what he means by that, and what he meant by that, because he's not alive anymore, but what he meant by that is there has to be a little trouble out of which comes something better. So you have to go through a certain amount of issues, perhaps. And unfortunately, really unfortunately, the pandemic is another example where this is the case. If you see how the pandemic now, and I want to focus on the positive here, how the pandemic now is bringing people together, not dividing them actually. It is the power of digital that is linking people of all backgrounds and all shapes and sizes and beliefs together. And whether the information they share is a positive or a negative one, and whether they are trying to boost each other into the left side of what needs to be done or to the right side of what needs to be done, I don't think is very relevant for this moment and not for the point that I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make again is digital here today is bringing people together. And that requires maybe some thinking and some thought process in terms of how is that going now versus how can we do that or have that better. And that creates an opportunity. And this opportunity, I think, is the next level and the next stage of where we need to be to bring it forward and to bring it further. Another thing that drives me when it comes to storytelling, if I try to explain, for example, to a customer or a partner, what the power of digital can do, I use stories, I use examples, and I try to use examples that people can relate to very well. And what I'm really, really proud of and very happy about is I'm a part-time lecturer in Huawei University for digital for different tracks in the space of digital transformation, not just to management team members, but also to partners and to customers who are coming over, or if I join sessions in their office or in their meeting rooms. And people in those rooms are never young people. They are young people with older people. They are women and they are men. They are from different backgrounds. They are from different interests. So it's a very blended environment. And I'm a strong advocate, a really strong advocate, already for a long time when it comes to diversity. I believe that diversity in teams is what makes a team better and that allows a team to already do better what it already did best. It is diversity that drives and accelerates and the boosting of creativity. I am a strong believer of that. And again, I said before that I'm very proud of working for Huawei Technologies because within Huawei Technologies, this is also the case. Even though we are a highly tech company, the level of diversity, I think, within our organization compared to others is a little higher up than others. And I think this is because of two reasons. Number one, because we're very open and we're very transparent. And I think from a diversity point of view, openness and transparency is key by the start, from the start. So not as a principle to pick up or as an idea that you think is interesting, so let's do it. Let's be open and transparent as of now. No, from the start. Let's create an organization which is an open and transparent organization, because by such, it is so open and transparent that people want to be part of it, and people who are becoming part of it, Huaweiers, as we call them, are from all shapes and sizes and from all backgrounds and from all genders, if you like. And we have them all. We have them all. And it is wonderful to be part of. And it's so inspiring to be part of. And storytelling is the only way where you're able as a leader or as a manager or even as a person in a team or as a desk worker, or it doesn't matter what kind of job role you have. You could be the janitor of a building. You could be part of the cleaning team. It really doesn't matter. But storytelling, sharing ideas via stories and sharing stories with ideas is what partially accelerates what I said in the beginning of this session. And that's where we champion in innovation. We do so much with research and development, and our investment in innovation is so high up, including the parts where diversity comes in. And I'm a strong advocate for that, and I believe in that. So a little bit about my story. I was born in the Netherlands, small town, an hour east of Amsterdam, an hour west of the German border. And in this small community, we had, I think when I was living there, when I was born, we had 32,000, maybe 35,000 people living and working there, everyone. Small community. By now it's, I think, 50,000 people, but still it's a small community, tightly connected, looking after each other in a certain way. A lot of craziness, a lot of trouble, but also a lot of good and a lot of fine things. And as I roamed the world in my career after that, and as I moved to other places and lived in other places, and currently I work out of Shenzhen, which is off the coast of Hong Kong in China, at the Huawei head office, which I joined in 2015. because I said before, I joined the European team in 2011, became a spokesperson in 2013. I joined our head office team in January 2015. And now I'm part of the global government business department, helping our customers with their digital journey and partners with their digital transformation processes, and sharing ideas and thoughts and teaching about it as a part-time lecturer. The campus, the Huawei campus in Shenzhen, is about 50,000 people. That's about just as much people that live in my small hometown. So from a community point of view, and from an integration point of view and sharing point of view, there are similarities, except when I grew up, there was no digital, and certainly not a digital transformation. It was all very physical. But on the Huawei campus, of course, everything is digital. And throughout my life, digital has become a strong part. Doing better what we do best, there has to be a little bit of friction applied first before things can shine. So go through the issues of the process and take it out. And that's a little bit of the story of me. And I'm, again, very proud to work for an organization that, number one, allows me to explore that even more, and to even be part of the advisory board of Shihiro, because I think you, and specifically in the process that you're going through right now with Shihiro Goes Digital, is not only a good example of how doing better what you already do best is showing itself and making it more visible, but also it's I was going to say paying off, but that's not what I mean. It's showing great value already, because more and more people are picking up on this. More and more people are joining you and your cause. So being part of your advisory board and be part of that journey is also something that I'm very passionate about, and where I learn a lot from, that I can use in my daily life, that I can use in my professional life, and that I can use in my personal life. If that explains it for you a little. Again, too many stories to tell.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing with us your story. When we ask people to tell the story, and in the very beginning they said, well, where should I start? And then we started talking and telling the stories. Yes, it can be a long story. As I always said, it's also about inclusiveness. The diversity
Absolutely.
I said it's about facts, but inclusion is more about the action, but inclusiveness is all about who we are. Thank you for sharing with us.
My question to you probably is, how Huawei or yourself believe trust should be built, and also to enable more people to use the, as you, in your word, technology or digital, to really do something good more and more, and everybody live as you, to completely be wireless, completely leverage the advantage, rather than
right.
At the same time to drive the diversity, inclusion, etc. However, that is not easy. I just want to hear from you. How do you do that yourself? Your company is doing that. At the same time, how would you expect all the others to follow the footprint?
We have a number of programs as an organization. One of the programs that we have is called Trust in Tech. If you would go to Twitter and you would use it as a hashtag, you would get a lot of hits where this hashtag Trust in Tech relates to, and then ends up to, different programs and initiatives, not only from us, but all kinds of organizations worldwide. We think trust in tech is where it all starts. Security, and that means securing systems and services to make sure that they keep up and running all the time, even if there is harsh environments or terrible situations like flooding or typhoons or cyclones or earthquakes or big fires or what have you, is able to not go down. That's one area of the technology where we say, from a secure point of view, the technology should be secure. It should be robust, so to speak, hardened. But what it also should do, it should be able to be checked upon. So it should come along with, and it should understand what kind of policies, what kind of legislation, what kind of regulation, and what kind of legalities are applied in the different nations, in the different scenarios, or in the different regions, or in the different implementations where technology is being used. What I mean by that is open and transparent are two words that I used earlier in this session. Open and transparent policies, but also open and transparent technology that allows policymakers, but also assessors and auditors after a certain time frame to look back into how the technology supported certain things or in certain ways, and to reason back even maybe to the keystroke of system engineers or IT administrators or programmers, or maybe even people who are writing code, to see where, at what point did someone incorporate, or has something being incorporated into the code of a piece of software that was supposed to perform in a certain way but is underperforming according to certain specifications, and then reason back and change that as well. So the adaptability of technology is also an important part. And I think in all these spaces, in all these domains, as a technology provider, as a manufacturer, but also as a digital transformation advisor, and also as an implementator of technology and a thought leader in certain domains, or maybe even a lot of domains, these pieces are always coming back, not just from a point of view, but also from a development, from an implementation, and from an awareness point of view. We are very aware of the power of technology in every which way it can be used. And that's not always easy, because number one, it's a high responsibility that someone has, but it also means that we always have to follow through internally as well, through our manufacturing, logistics services, delivery, implementation, rollout, and performance tracks throughout the value chain. And we are very responsible in that. We call this end-to-end security within Huawei. Safety and security within Huawei sits very high up in our value chain and is embedded, just like openness and transparency, as I mentioned before, in everything we do in our organization. And we have specific advisory boards. We even have specific audit teams targeted and assigned with specific tasks only related to this. And this goes beyond quality assurance. It goes beyond business continuity management. This goes deeply into the core of how, as an organization, we are able to provide systems and services that are safe and secure, and how they should be to the performance that they need to work for. I hope this answers your question.
So any more questions from the audience today?
AI. Well, the interesting part is not that long ago, I think it was last week or maybe the week before that, less than 2 weeks ago for sure, I published an article where I highlighted my 5 A's of AI. So everybody knows that AI is artificial intelligence, but I think that's not maybe how to put it, because I think there's not much artificial about intelligence, no matter where it comes from, whether it comes from computing power or brain power or the combination of the two. So for me, AI is not artificial intelligence. There is a lot of other A's that apply to it. You can find this on the web, so I'm not going to reiterate that, but if you Google my name, or if you would Google 5 A's of AI and Huawei, you will find a blog post about it to give you some ideas. The other part sits, of course, with how artificial intelligence can be used and already is being used. If you look at where COVID is today and how the element of artificial intelligence, or the element of AI, is able to support, for example, medical specialists that today need to look at X-rays from a CT scanner of a lung or both of the lungs of a potential patient or an existing patient or a person. And they manually have to check picture by picture, frame by frame, whether there are differences in picture number 1 and picture number 2 and picture number 3, to see if there is progression or regression over time. And they have to do this manually. They have to toggle with page up or page down, or I think with the computer, arrow left and arrow right, to go back and forth into these images. And that's very time consuming. And with COVID-19, of course, there is even more people, even more potential patients or real patients coming in, all having their lungs scanned in a CT scanner. And therefore, the burden on these specialist teams is getting bigger and bigger and heavier. So artificial intelligence is more than just going through pictures very fast and selecting the ones that we might like to see or like to need. Artificial intelligence can also do something with interpretation. And that means whatever information is being presented back to a medical specialist out of a vast amount of video images or X-ray images of a lung scan via a CT scanner, is helping the medical specialists today to shorten the time, and again, time in this case then becomes relevant, to shorten the time that it takes to detect if picture number 1 of lung number 1 versus picture number 200 of the same lung is showing progression or regression, in order to determine if something goes wrong with the patient and what to do to anticipate it. Artificial intelligence can also do something else. In COVID-19, there are so many organizations worldwide that are trying to find a vaccine for it, that finds drugs for it, antidotes. And all these antidotes also need to be tested. In the research papers that go along with all these investments and all these implementations for it, AI can also help with that. So advancing intelligence by doing advanced accelerations of drug testing and then pile the conclusions up and summarize it in a better way so medical specialists can make a better decision in a shorter time or have more time left to look at a specific piece of the technology that they need to look into for drug testing is another example where AI comes in. AI is also doing something else. AI in your smartphone is not only letting your smartphone connect to a mobile network in the most optimized way. AI in your smartphone can also allow you or anybody else to open up the camera of your smartphone. And where's my smartphone? So open up the camera of your smartphone, and with your smartphone, you're looking to a children's book. And in the screen of your phone is presented maybe a little avatar that speaks sign language just by looking at the page of a regular book. In this way, talking about tech for all and talking about digital inclusion, in this way, your regular smartphone that looks at a regular children's textbook for story time allows you as a father or a mother, allows you as a teacher, or allows you as any person to read a story to any child, either with your voice by reading the text or via the screen of your smartphone, where an AI enablement can interpret the text and translate that into sign language. And the other way around as well. You can take your camera and you can view at someone who speaks sign language. So if that would be you, and I don't speak sign language, so via my smartphone and via the camera in my phone, I point at you and there is an AI-enabled app on my phone with a regular camera that pictures you speaking sign language. And when I look at my screen, there's either a subtitle or I have an earpiece that speaks the language of my choice. And when I speak back to the screen with my voice, the screen on the other side shows again an avatar, either with a subtitle or sign language again. And the last example I'd like to make in the same way is young children are not always very able to explain how they feel, whether they got a tingling feeling in their eyes, let alone whether the eyesight of them goes backwards. And we, as an organization, are working with different institutions, including one that is using the AI enablement of your regular smartphone that's already in there because it's chipsets that works together with all kinds of other features like the camera. We're letting children look at a screen, or we are using apps for children, playing apps, so they learn at the same time as the app using camera technology with high definition imaging to check how is the eye of the child going through the screen. Is it pinching? Is the pupil widening or not? In other words, with AI enablement, we're able, while we're learning via digital technologies and while the child is learning via digital technologies, to understand whether the eyesight of a child is going backwards. That means we are able to earlier diagnose decline in eyesight, and that makes sure that the child is earlier helped and therefore perhaps prevented and maybe even going blind over time. And I think these are very, very clear examples, very tangible examples, stories which are true and which are active and live today where AI already helps. So if we bring this higher up in the value chain and we look at societies and we look at how perhaps maybe motion detection sensors in security cameras can also be AI enabled to understand whether someone in the street is being robbed, stands up and shouts for help, but this person is deaf and speaks sign language. So I think this is sign language for help. Cameras can pick that up and can translate it to a converged command control room. And now someone who is deaf is part of society, is included. And now the whole society becomes benefited with AI enablement of different infrastructures. And I will not go into the details of technology where artificial intelligence can help optimize services, can auto-configure systems and applications without humans having to pre-stage this and spending 2 weeks in pre-configuration, but just plug technology into a data center and it expands, it talks to each other, and it shares information alongside without human interfaces to do that for them. I think are clear examples where AI is also able to help. And then the last part, if I understand your question correctly, is where is China and the rest of the world? I think the rest of the world and China are reasonably on par, but China has it more nationwide as a nationwide program. And the rest of the world is having programs a little bit scattered or a little bit downscaled or only in universities or only in incubator organizations. And it's not necessarily yet a nationwide or a government-driven investment where the whole country is part of. In China, it is each and everyone all day, every day, the whole day. And that makes it very accelerative and that makes it very intuitive, but also very innovative and high up.
And thank you again for being with us. And time today is relative and also relevant. I mean, thank you so much for joining us again. See you next time.